Security on all Workspace Manager template objects is exactly the same regardless of the object, with the exception of My Matters containers and workspaces, which are root objects and cannot inherit security from any other parent object because they have no parent. Both the My Matters container and the workspace are considered root objects within the database. Any category or shortcut within a My Matters container can inherit security from the My Matters container, and any tab, folder, or search within a workspace can inherit security from the workspace or the parent object that it is under. Every object within Worksite will have a default security value. Workspace Manager provides for a preset list of default security options, including no changes, which can be used on existing structures, public, private, or view, which can be used to control the security of structural objects within Worksite. Note that this value, like any other value within Workspace Manager, can also be driven by an external data queries value. So instead of using a hard-coded value, I can use a dynamic query to return a unique value for, in this case, default security for, again in this case, a particular My Matters container. This provides for extremely powerful control over the security on any given object or structure within the Worksite interface. Workspace Manager also has the ability to create user and group ACLs on any structure within Worksite, and also the ability to remove any security ACLs other than those explicitly defined within the interface for that specific object. If the Remove Security ACLs option is unchecked, then any user-defined ACLs that are created by users that have full access to that structure will be preserved on that structure within Worksite. User ACLs can be created in a number of different ways. A user ID can be typed directly into the user ID interface, or a single user ID can be selected from the native Worksite selection interface, and then that ACL added directly to the interface as a approved security ACL for that particular object. Note that Workspace Manager's secondary query capability is extremely powerful here for setting security for unique users and groups on specific structures in Worksite. For a primary query that may return a specific user ID, like the responsible attorney, that value can be added directly to the values for security ACL with a desired security value. Again, at this level, full access, read-write, read-only, and no access are available as different level of security ACL rights values within user and group security ACLs. This value can then be added to the list for the security ACLs for a structure. Note that when adding a security ACL and many other values within Workspace Manager, if a value already exists for the key data value, the user is presented with the option to update that existing value. Workspaces have a security interface just like all other structures within the Workspace Manager interface. Note that as they are root objects within the Worksite database, they cannot inherit security from any other structure within the Worksite interface. The security can be defined at the default security level and at the user and group ACL level, as has been previously discussed in other DocAuto videos. Profile values for workspaces can also be specified within the Profile Values tab. Note that workspaces have a special purpose metadata value referred to as category, which is actually a subclass of the special WebDoc class within the DBadmin or Worksite database. These values can be specified for workspaces for special purposes. Any other metadata value can also be defined for workspaces, including all lookup values, date, numeric, and Boolean values. We also have the ability to remove any metadata value other than metadata values that have been approved and specified in the list of metadata values on the Workspace template item. An additional unique and very powerful capability of Workspace Manager for security management is the ability to do what is called cascading security. Cascading security is only available for secondary queries that are returning specific user and rights combinations or specific group and group rights combinations. Note that in secondary queries, the top operator is a double asterisk. This is a special purpose operator that is used for the cascading security process. What this operator does is return paired values of, in this case, user IDs and the rights that each individual user should have. So, for example, this secondary query is being driven based on information for a specific client and matter. The secondary query may return 10 different pairs of individual user IDs and unique rights of full access, read-write, read, or no access for each individual user in that list of 10 users. So again, the first user may have full access, the second user may have no access, the third user may have read-write access, and so on. When using the cascading security operator, the secondary query must be formatted in the format where the user ID is the first field returned by the query and the rights value that corresponds to that user ID is the second field in that query. When using the cascading security operator, the rights value is ignored within the interface. So whatever value is entered here is irrelevant when Workspace Manager does the actual processing. The cascading security operator, when it runs for a particular structure, will evaluate the secondary query, return the paired values of users or groups and their individual security rights, and resolve them against the existing security rights that have been defined both within the Workspace Manager interface and that may already exist on that particular structure within Worksite. Note that the remove additional security ACLs also works in conjunction with secondary query security ACLs, whether they're cascading security ACLs or not. An alternative use of secondary queries can involve hard coding a specific value for all users returned by a secondary query. In this type of configuration, the user ID value can be specified, but whatever rights that set of users should have or groups should have can be hard-coded directly within the interface here and then added to the interface. Note that the use of a cascading security ACL and a hard-coded secondary list ACL would be incompatible, so this is actually not a valid configuration.